Now we'll switch on to the to another topic, which is testing and verifying the structures, and I will hand over to Marcin.
Okay, thank you, Radek. I will briefly explain the concept of SAF-T testing of SAF-T structures. Let's start with an example. What you can see on the slide, in the upper part of the slide, is just a regular purchasing invoice. This is an invoice for services we have received. In this particular case, it is an invoice for tire fitting, just a regular invoice, invoices that we see every day. And on the bottom of the slide, you can see the representation of this invoice in the accounting system, in the ERP system. And as you can see, you can see here three lines. These are account entries, and all those three lines makes one accounting entry as it is seen in an accounting system. You can see 2 debit entries and one credit entries, and this is a tabular form which we see every day, and we are used to it. And how this particular invoice would be represented in XML format. On the left side of the slide, you can see the schema. This is the schema for general ledger data, and on the right side of the slide you can see this particular purchasing invoice in an XML format. And I would like to draw your attention to those 2 yellow fields, journal entry and accounting entries, because the same invoice is represented twice in the single SAF-T file. The journal entry, the upper side, it's a header of this accounting entry, and those bottom part are the lines which are represented in different part of the SAF-T file. So we have the same information represented twice, only in one SAF-T file. So this is the case that can be used for testing. We can reconcile those 2 types of information within one file. Also, I would like to point that Alexandra has mentioned before that those SAF-T files can be of a large volume. You can see here that just those three entries make a lot of text in this XML format. So that's the reason why the volume of those SAF-T files will be pretty large. And in terms of testings, in terms of testing, you have seen just the one part of the invoice representation in accounting system. I mean booking entries, but this particular invoice could be also seen in bank statements, in the file dedicated for invoices, in VAT records, and if it would be invoice for goods received, it will be also reflected in inventory movement. So the same document will be reflected in all 5 SAF-T structure that are in Poland, and the information provided in all those structures should be consistent between those all types of files. And this is the one idea of testing. What is especially important, and I will refer to what Frank has said before, if we use different ERP system, for example, different system for sales, different system for general ledger, this becomes even more important, because there can be discrepancies between different systems, and we can present different data about, for example, about the same invoice in different files, because we use different sources for producing our SAF-T file. So as you can see, even for a very simple transaction, just a purchase of service, this is a pretty complex to properly reflect this transaction in SAF-T concept. So how to deal with testing, assuming all those information? Our approach is to use data analytics software to do the test. For this purpose, we use our EY proprietary solution, which is called EY Guard, and this is the solution we have developed here locally in Poland, and it's been used for a few years by our forensic practice, mainly for testing accounting data, to identify potential irregularities, errors, and even accounting frauds. Right now we are adapting the solution to SAF-T concept, because so far we have worked directly with source data exported from ERP system. Right now we are adjusting EY Guard to allow him to accept SAF-T files. And the concept is to gather all the information from different SAF-T files and run analytical tests on EY Guard database to identify any kind of exceptions, irregularities, potential errors that shouldn't be present in SAF-T files reported to tax authorities. What is a great advantage and benefit from using such approach, that we can test the whole population. We expect a huge volume of data. This is not a problem for such analytical tools, so we can check exactly in the same way as it will be done by tax authorities, the whole population of your transaction, so the whole contents of SAF-T files. This is also a good idea to think about self-testing approach and to build such kind of testing facility in your companies. First, to be compliant. Second, to verify if there are not any errors in the files. A few words about how to verify those SAF-T files. Basically, we see two types, I would say, two groups of tests that can be run on the SAF-T files. The first group is, these are tests designed for verifying the compliance, internal consistency, and technical integrity of the particular files. So I would say that these tests are purely technical ones, and the basic objective is to validate the files if they are compliant with the requirements stated in technical specification announced by Ministry of Finance. What we see at our clients, and Sue also mentioned about this. This is about the validation. Usually, we see that this is a part of the implementation process of SAF-T solution that is taking place at our clients. So the final phase of such implementation would be the validation of those files. And the second group of tests you can see on the right side of the slide. These are substantive tests, and the objective for those kind of tests is to identify all the potential mistakes, error, or other irregularities that can result with tax risk, assuming that the SAF-T files will be handed over to tax authorities. And for this group of tests, of course, we use also UI guard, and we use analytical approach and run an analytical test. But in this group, it is very important that the result of those tests should be verified and analyzed by tax professional that can assess the risk from the potential findings, and what is even more important, that they can suggest or recommend appropriate remediation. I believe Tomasz will say something more about this in a minute. Just to present a few examples of those first group of tests designed for check integrity and consistency on the files. This could be as simple as verification if the required fields are filled for every record, and these are purely technical tests. What can be more difficult, how to verify the correctness of the file. So, for example, if the description of the accounting entry is properly represented in SAF-T files. We have developed an approach to use for such kind of test checksums that would allow us to verify even if text data are properly transferred to SAF-T file. Our Ministry of Finance has declared that they will provide a simple tool for all the taxpayers to run the basic test, but this will be only a very basic test that allow to check to validate the files against the schema. So not much value added expected. And just the last slide about the substantive testing. Just a few examples. Here are the tests that need additional verification by tax professional, and a simple example of such test is identification of duplicate invoices. But also we can run the test that use keyword searches approach. The second example you can see on the slide use this kind of approach. First we define the dictionary of keywords that we are going to look for in the description of accounting entries, and based on these searches we identify the entries that should be verified by tax professional to determine if they are correct or not. And this is all about identifying them before the file will be transferred to tax authorities, just to minimize the risk. This is exactly the same testing approach that what will be used by tax authorities during the tax audit. So sometimes we call it even tax audit simulation, and definitely we are encouraging our clients to verify in this way all the SAF-T files each time before they should be transferred to tax authorities. But I think that Tomasz will say something more about the approach of our authorities to tax audits.